I'm a QA engineer, and testing is my everyday bread. I'm testing mobile devices and applications which are running at them. Today presentation will be briefly about Arquillian concepts. I don't know if you guys know something about Arquillian. It's pretty well-known framework which is used for testing. Then we will briefly go through Arquillian Graphene introduction. After that, I will show you some goodies, what is Graphene about, and how to use it. After that, I will introduce Droidium, and hopefully we will see Droidium in action. So for a long time, writing and maintaining tests was looking something like this. You have to actually do a lot of stuff. There was a lot of boilerplate code you have to set up initially in order to bootstrap your test, and so on and so on. And it was kind of mess. You just it was not robust, it was not stable. When you change something here, it was broken there and so on. So there was a need to develop or introduce some kind of tool which solves these problems. And tests pretty much often looked like this. It was like a bridge. You just don't know where to step in order to not break the test, and in order to go from one shore to another. And Arquillian is a tool which tries to solve these problems. When it comes to Java applications and Java enterprise applications, for a long time, testing was looking like you have to mock every services around. So you had a test which was not running in a real product environment. You just had to mock every services, injections, and so on and so on. The guy which was before me was talking a lot of mocking, and we believe that this approach is bad. You should not mock. You should use your production code or your code in a production environment. So there will be no compromises about functionality and knowing if your code is working or not. So you should actually run your code in a production environment and see if it really works, because testing and mocking is quite nice, but when it comes to real production, it used to break. Arquillian cooperates with JUnit and TestNG, so it supports multiple test runners, and you can also debug your code easily, and from IDE, Eclipse, NetBeans, and so on. Arquillian uses abstraction of container. So container is a kind of thing where you actually deploy your application in order to test it. So for example, container is JBoss, Wildfly, Tomcat, OpenShift, Tommy, Jetty, and so on and so on. So it is kind of thing where you deploy your application and the tests are executed there. Tests or containers can be remote and managed. Remote container means that the container is actually running prior to your test execution. And managed container is a container which is started by Arquillian and it is stopped by Arquillian after your tests are done. So remote container and managed container abstraction. In order to support some container in Arquillian, you have to write the adapter for it. Container adapter is some kind of plugin or extension which enables you to deploy your application for that particular container. You can run your tests in two modes. It is in container mode and client mode. In container mode is a mode in which your tests, your JUnit test, actually runs in a context of JVM of the target container. So for example, when you have JBoss container and you have a test, you deploy that var to that container and the tests are executed in the context of that container, and the results are sent back via network to test runner. But on the other hand, the client mode is a kind of black box testing. You also deploy there your application, but the tests are not running in the context of JVM of that container, but on your local machine, in the context of JUnit runner, which is running locally. And Arquillian is pretty much extension based. Arquillian is there is an Arquillian core, and around it is really plethora of extensions, because Arquillian is using SPI's pattern really heavily. So you are actually, when you want to write your own extension, you have to just register your observers, which are observing events fired from Arquillian, and you can hook your own functionality on top of it. Arquillian, so this was Arquillian core. Arquillian Graphene is a tool for which enables you to functionally test your application. So we are talking about web applications. Web application like you deploy some wire to the container, and you just fire up Firefox, and your web application is displayed there. And Arquillian Graphene is I don't know, you guys, if you know Selenium or a WebDriver. It is kind of Selenium on steroids. It provides a really neat API, which is really kind of sexy, you would say. And we are really striving for no boilerplate code. Your tests, when you know that your tests are good when they are really totally stupidly simple. So when there is no bootstrapping, and where there is, well, your tests should actually consist of one-liners, and you know that it is really nice to look at it, and that is the way how to do it. So you have to maintain your test in order to have it really simple, like keep it simple, stupid. Examples. So I bet that you have seen some JUnit based text. Arquillian test is JUnit test with some syntactic sugar. It runs with Arquillian runner. It is some just different kind of runner from JUnit one. It builds on top of it. And as you see, you annotate the test as with annotation run as client. It means that this test will not run in a container context, but inside of it. After that, you inject into the test so-called Arquillian resource. Arquillian resource is provided you by Arquillian itself. So in this case, in that URL field, you have the entry point to your application which was deployed to the container. And another injection is a browser, which you annotate with a drone annotation. And this browser is abstraction for your browser like Firefox, Chrome, Safari, Opera, you name it. After that, there is a so-called deployment methods. Deployment method is a method which returns some kind of archive. I don't know if you know shrink wrap, but shrink wrap is used for specifying micro deployments which are deployed to the container. And here we just took our build var application, which will be deployed to the container and tested. And after we wrote this, we just write our test. That method says that we should get a browser and navigate to a home page or some page URL. So actually, as you see, there is no boilerplate at all. You do not have to set up browser capabilities and all other Selenium stuff. It is really nice, I would say. You can also specify more deployment methods. So, for example, you can deploy 1,000 web archives to different kind of containers, because you can test against multiple containers and so on. So really sky is the limit. Once again, injections, deployment method, test method. This is the basic structure of the Arquillian test as such. When it comes to usage of Arquillian Graphene, and well, we are writing functional tests, so we are going to test some functionality, or how some application works. Right now, we do not have any deployment because we just do not need to. We just don't need to it. And let's say open a Google and write into the input field some query, click on the button, and wait until some results will be visible. Here you see that you specified so-called element allocators. So right now Graphene automatically resolves these find by annotations, and you end up with having a web element from web driver which encapsulates the underlying structure of your web application. For example, in the search button will be a button you are going to click on. So the test is really easy. It is like a proof of concept, really. So you just take your browser, navigate to Google, send keys, click on the button, and you are waiting for a test. You are waiting until some element will contain result graphene. So you can see that this is really fluent API. You're writing your tests almost in a native language. There you just do not have to learn some hard or difficult to learn stuff, how to do something. You just follow the API, and it just is really simple to learn, and the learning curve is pretty rapid. But when you see on this test, you have there some find bias allocators, right? And it is not so good, because when Google changes your this internal structure of the page, you are lost. You have to rewrite this test. So what to do? In Graphene, there is a pattern of web objects which was taken from original web driver, and it makes your test more readable. Graphene enhances usability of page objects. So in our case, it means that these find by allocators will be encapsulated in a so-called front page. When in the front page, you just describe these two web elements like query, input, and search button. And the front page has a method. You just provide a string to input, and the internal logic clicks on the button. You have also the result page, which actually contains only that the until element text contains one liner. And after the refactoring, your test looks like this. You are injecting two pages there. So it's a front page and it's a result page. And on the front page, you are searching for some string. And on the result page, you are waiting that this kind of result will be present. So when it comes to modifying your test, you are not modifying this one, but you are modifying underlying front pages. So this makes your test more modular, stable, robust. It is more readable, and it is more. So you have just do this from this one, right? That was the objection. But as you noticed, you have to kind of get the Google URL, and it is more bootstrapping. We are striving really to diminish bootstrapping at all. So what we provided the so-called location annotation, where you put the URL of that page object, and after that you actually just provide the parameter which is annotated by initial page, and when this test is getting executed, underlying front page will be automatically opened according to this location element. So this is the final form of the test, and this was the beginning. So you can see that you really simplify your test totally, and there is actually just look at it, and it can't be simpler, really. There is no excuses not to functionally test with Graphene at all. You can also use goto method from Graphene directory and not a location, but it is only a matter of your preferences. So that was Graphene. When you guys are interested in AngularJS, you can also test your user interface with some extension which is built on top of Graphene, and you can also use Fluent waiting API when you are waiting for some elements to appear, contain something, diminish, and so on. You can also test against multiple browsers. So you can have a test in which you are testing in Firefox and in Opera or Safari simultaneously, in one moment. You can also use jQuery locators, and there is a lot of more stuff. So this was about testing of mobile pages, but when it comes to mobile phones, the situation is obviously not so clear. In Red Hat, we are believing that world is going to be more and more mobile, and we just can't ignore the fact that there wasn't a tool which would satisfy our needs in order to test mobile applications. So I was a participant of Google Summer of Code, and I developed Arquillian Droidium. Arquillian Droidium is from high-level extension for Arquillian. It is a container adapter for Arquillian. So when it comes to I took the similar approach as with JBoss containers. For example, when you have a JBoss container, you are deploying there your var file. But when you have Android container, it is also some kind of container. So why not to deploy there something? And deploying meaning installation of your APK. So Arquillian Droidium glues together Android platform. It doesn't deal with iOS. It's only targeted on Android, but there are also there's also some trying to integrate iOS as well. It uses Selenium WebDriver, Graphene, and Drone together. And as I said, in case of Droidium, your container is Android, and it can be your physical device, like your mobile phone in a pocket. And when you do not have it, you can run your tests on emulator. And in case emulator is you want to use is not present in your machine, it is automatically started, created, deleted on a purpose when your tests are getting executed. So once again, Droidium and Arquillian is trying to get you rid of bootstrapping, and it is simple stupid. Droidium supports both container modes. Managed container mode in Droidium means that you just connect to already running emulator or your Android device, your mobile phone, and in case of remote container mode, it means that you just connect to that device dynamically. Droidium solves basically two things. The first thing is that it functionally tests web applications which are deployed themselves based on an application server, as you know it, like JBoss, Wi-Fi, Classic, and so on. But this application is tested from Android point of view. So in your Android, you open a web browser, and the tests are carried out there. And it is solved by so-called web plugin. It uses Android server APK from Selenium. In case of native testing, it is done by native plugin, and it uses Selendroid server from Selendroid project. Selendroid is really nice project. What does it actually do? Selendroid is an APK which is getting installed beside the application you are testing, and the purpose of Selendroid is to I don't know if you are aware of Android developing, but Selendroid instruments your application under the test, and the role of Selendroid is to translate JSON wire protocol from a WebDriver to native Android calls. So when from outside, when the WebDriver, from your test, when you send some JSON wire protocol command like open or like click on the button, Selendroid internally translates this JSON wire protocol and it clicks on that button by Android way of doing it, like by native Android calls. So by this pattern, you can translate your JSON wire protocol to native Android calls, and that's arcade out there. In case, so what you actually need to do in order to carry out some testing. So in case of web testing, you code your web application, your var file, you start JBoss, you deploy that var file on it, and after that you test that application from Android point of view. And in case of native application, you code your Android application, which results into APK. You start your Android container, you deploy that APK to the Android container as is, without any modifications. This is a really interesting thing that you have to do nothing in order to carry out tests. You just deploy your application, you are coding without any modification. And you start Android activities, and these Android activities are treated by WebDriver. So you are actually, there is absolutely no difference between testing web applications and testing native Android applications. You are using the same API, same waiting API, same pages, and so on and so on. The really nice abstraction is that as you have seen page objects, which encapsulate some page like Google front page. So I took a similar approach, and our page objects are activities you are starting. And you actually can't say what is the web test and what is the mobile test, because you are dealing with the same API and nothing has changed at all. So when I have to wrap it up, I would say that Droidium meets Java Enterprise, Java EE with Android, and it integrates application servers from that Java EE environment with Android, and you can test really complex usage scenarios. Like you can, for example, also start two Androids. On two Androids, you deploy APK. On a JBoss application server, you deploy your chatting application, and you write a test which can simulate the chatting experience from these applications. And I would say that right now I'm not aware of any kind of solution which will do this complex kind of thing, like starting your free containers and getting you rid of all the boilerplate you would actually need to do. And it can be also used in test-driven development, because especially when you start your containers in a remote mode, it means that they are already started. So Arquillian do not have to start it in advance, and you can actually directly approach to deploying your applications to these containers and carry out the tests. So the time is reduced heavily. And it can be also introduced, incorporated with a cloud environment. You can carry out your tests in CloudBees or Travis and so on. So you can actually test your Android, really complex Android with Java EE solutions in a cloud automatically, which we are basically doing it. We are using Jenkins heavily, and these scenarios are running there. So demo, it will be really, because I don't have a lot of time, it will be really quick. Oh, this is hard. So basically, this is your Android emulator. Never mind that it doesn't fit, but this is Android container. It is already started. It is already running in prior of your tests. In the background, there is also JBoss started. So you have two containers, running JBoss and running Android. So we can directly approach to execute the test. I think I will run it firstly. So this is your Android. Right now, APKs on Android is deployed, and var file is deployed to JBoss. So I have Firefox here, and it is really totally simple application. Like you just log there. I can debug it, but I have to firstly. So you write their name and password, right? And you add there some project like groceries, and you add there some task like buy milk in a shop around the corner. Never mind. So you are just write the test which logs somewhere into your application which is running on JBoss, and you are doing something with the application. You are testing how does it actually behave and look like in production environment. After that, you do the same with mobile phone. You was logged there via that application into this application, which reflects what is actually happening on a web version of it. Then you see that there is a task added in a browser. After that, you can add some other one, right? So you just add their mobile task, and when you refresh the page in a Firefox, that you will see that the mobile task added in a Android is shown here. And after that, you was logged out from Android, and you was logged out from Firefox as well. So this is a really simple scenario, but you have an idea of what is happening. And you can also, I don't know how much time I have, maybe I can show some code. Actually, you run it as a client with Arquillian runner. You have two drones. First controls your Firefox, and the second one controls your mobile phone. After that, you have two deployments. One deployment is targeting Android. As you can see, a lot of stuff is done by annotations. Annotations are really expressive in these things. You just annotate something, and you actually know what does it do. There is no totally no boilerplate at all. And this interesting thing, with APK, it is internally in the end only a zip file or like a jar. So you can actually, by shrink wrap, you can return Java archive, and this APK is installed on that Android container. And in case of a var file, it is ER. There are bundled two applications. It is a server and a web page, and you are targeting your JBoss AS. After that, there are some find by elements. There are some pages. for example, this task page. When you need to add a task, you just, it is really totally simple. You just everything annotated with find by, and these find by locators are automatically resolved. So when I click on a mobile description, it is that field in mobile application which gets filled. So you just declared what your application consists of, and actually there are tests. We are using this in sequence annotation because, as you know, you are not sure if your JUnit tests will get executed in the same order, because it is just JVM kind of thing, and we just order these test methods in advance, so we are sure that how they are appearing here, it will also get executed in the same order. So in the first method, we just inject Arquillian URL, that's the URL of the context, and we log there. On the second test, we add the project. On the third test, we add a task. We are doing some asserts. On the fourth test, we are injecting Arquillian device. It is really convenient abstraction how you approach your Android device, and you just start your activity there. Activity started like with a fully qualified class name. After it is started, you just log into that mobile page. Fifth test is about adding a mobile task, one-liner. Sixth test is about refreshing your browser. Seventh test is about logging out from browser, and eighth test is about seventh test is about logging out from mobile, and last one is about logging out from a web page. So it can be simple, and a rule of thumb: use annotations, encapsulate everything into page objects, specify your deployments, and when it has some configuration, it calls everything. This is only one. Everything is specified in a file called Arquillian XML when you declaratively specify your containers. So this is like a Android container. When you specify AVD you want to use, and this container is JBoss container. And in case of this particular test, JVM is automatically downloaded and extracted into your target when you know Maven a little bit. And these are declarations of browsers. So the first one is Firefox, and it will get automatically resized. And the second one is browser, and this is just some kind of thing where to actually connect. So I think it is everything from me. Questions? None. Yeah. Or? Thank you.